So I wish we could have started slightly earlier so that the rest of you could have seen Josh's phone fall. That was pretty epic. Where'd you go, Josh? Oh, you're back.
Sorry, I'm having some problems with my tripod. So it's like
That's what she said. Ayo.
if I was known as a tripod, I'd be pretty happy.
I suppose there are worse things. There are worse
There
things.
are. So
Um,
hello everyone.
yeah. Hi, all. One person watching.
Well, to that one person who's watching us live tonight, thank you for watching with us.
Yeah. We
Um,
appreciate you, one watcher, whoever you
and
are.
all of you who listen on the podcast episodes, hello. And this
Yeah.
is Get Valiant 76.
Number 76. Yeah, you missed 75. It was me and Nick.
How did that episode go? I didn't get a chance to listen.
It went pretty well. Only issue was that I completely forgot to read Ninja K number 5 before we did it. So we got to talk about that this week.
So, okay. We can definitely do that. I thought that was a very fine issue.
Yeah, we can get into
I
that.
did I did write a review of that issue, actually.
Oh, I guess whether or not I read it.
Did you finally read it?
No, whether or not I read it is the same answer as to whether or not you watch the episodes that you're not on.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Well, for people listening, we got a pretty good episode ahead of us. We're going to talk about Inlights. We've got a bunch of reviews because now we have to do Ninja K5. We'll talk about Exo Man War 13. We'll talk about the return of Shadow Man 1, whether or not it was good. And my trip to WonderCon, at least the Valiant portion of it.
How was your trip to WonderCon? At least the Valiant portion of it.
The trip to it sucked ass. It was the worst travel I've had in a long time. My flight was delayed, and then the shuttle that was supposed to pick me up at the airport had actually broken down on the way, and it was kind of like a light rain. So I just had to sit out there in the rain for a long time, and eventually my new driver showed up, but he had to wait for another passenger. And this dude was like a crazy religious ex-Egyptian military dude. He was wild, man. He had some
That
theories.
sounds like a good time.
Oh yeah, he was cool. But I'd never been to WonderCon, and WonderCon is awesome. To me, WonderCon is basically like a smaller but more comic focused San Diego Comic Con. Because it's the same people that put it on. It's really like well organized, and man, it's just like comic book stuff everywhere. They don't even have just like one artist alley. They have an artist alley, and then they have like a small print artist alley of sorts. And they have a ton of retailers everywhere that are selling comics and selling like cool books, man. Like there's some cool stuff that you can find on that floor. Not a lot of publishers, and Valiant didn't do a booth this year, so that was that was actually like a pretty decent disappointment. Aside from that, though, there were some cool things about the whole show. I got to meet a bunch of Valiant fans. I met Sean from OTV. I met Elvine from OTV. Travis Williams, who's been on this podcast before. And then I met Rucker from Valiant Comic Fans on Facebook, and I met Troy from Valiant Fans. So I got to pal around with some people here and there. It was actually really nice, and I got to vent with Travis. Me and him had lots to bitch about. And
I'm not a fan of that. No bitching. No bitching. Stop the bitching.
The panels, though, the Valiant panels were pretty okay. I've been to the Valiant 101 panel. I know everything there is that they tell you about those things. So there wasn't anything great. And they didn't announce anything that we haven't already heard about. So if you were hoping that I'd come back and be like, guess what book's coming out? Guess what book? Nope, nothing. And I kind of thought the same thing of the Harbinger Wars 2 panel, where, there really wasn't anything that we really got any info about that we didn't already know. I didn't get any gold books
What's
at
the
all.
deal? What's the deal with that?
I don't know. So here's a funny story. They were doing this trivia at the Harbinger Wars 2 panel. The first person who answered the trivia question got a Quantum and Woody gold book. The new Quantum and Woody, not the old one that everybody has and can't get rid of, but the new one. So the first person is there's a trivia question and someone answers it and they get Quantum and Woody gold. Second question is asked, person answers it, they got a Quantum and Woody gold. The third question was asked, and I raised my hand. I was like, I know the answer. And I told them the answer, and I got a button.
What?
The fourth person who answered a trivia question got the Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe card game.
What? What? Oh my God.
And then, because they didn't have a booth, they were like, hey, Valiant, we're Valiant. We give people gold books for wearing shirts. We give you a gold book if you come to our panel. Adam Freeman will be giving out gold books at the back of the panel. And I was waiting to get one, and him and someone else just left while I was waiting. So I didn't get a gold book. I was kind of bummed. I was just like, wow, that's so weird. Like, I got a button for, while everybody else got like way cool stuff. I didn't get any golds. But then I talked to Adam about it later, and he was like, oh, just send me an email, I'll take care of you, because he ran out. So that got taken care of. I didn't really find a lot of Valiant books on the floor, which is really sad. I did buy another Eternal Warrior 4 because I saw that.
Hey, show us the button. Where's the button?
Give me a second.
All right, peeps. He's going to go get the button as requested by the live chat. Yeah, we got to see this button. This better be the coolest fucking button. As buttons go, this better be like the Mona Lisa of buttons. Hey, that's actually, like I've seen less cool buttons before. Oh, I really like my reflection in the button. That was the best part.
It's a big button. It practically covers my face. And then I got like a really sweet, I don't know, I mean, like for people who are watching, one person.
We got 3 now, so we're pretty popular.
So you know what? I'll tell you what, that I learned my lesson about something. Whenever you're going to go to a convention and an artist tells you on like Twitter or Facebook that they can do some sketches before they go to the show, and if you do it through them before the show, they'll do a better sketch. Do it, because that's David Barron who did that sketch, and it's awesome. But I also bought a sketch from him and Ryan Wynn, like a collaboration that I didn't think turned out as good as this one, but it was still pretty good. So when someone says, hey, look, send me the money beforehand, I'll work on it at home and I got all these other supplies, do it. So last thing about the show, and then we can move on to other things. So Saturday night at the show, they did Bat in the Sun panel. And they were going to show Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe footage. Oh, actually, you know what? That reminds me of one more Valiant really, I think, too. But anyway, we'll go to this part. This is way more exciting than the other thing. So I'm hanging out with Travis and Rucker and Troy, and they're just really nice guys. They let me pal around with them, so I wasn't just like some lonely dude at the show. It was really awesome. And so we walked to the panel, and outside the panel for Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe is Kevin Porter and Aaron Schoenke. Okay. And those guys came up to us and were like, hey, you guys are Valiant fans. Hi, we're so-and-so's. And like they introduced themselves to us, which was really weird because I'm not used to that,
Sure.
And they're like, we hope you guys like the footage that we're going to show. We know you guys are Valiant fans because they're all wearing Valiant stuff, and no one else in the area is. Everybody else there, it seemed like they were there for like the superpower beatdown stuff, so that's why they're there. But they came up to us and shook our hands and introduced themselves to us, and we're just like, we got footage to show you. We're going to show you Ninjak against Exo Manowar and Ninjak versus Archer and Armstrong. And it was a really neat panel. Like, it was a really neat just atmosphere because, like, the people that were there in attendance from Bat in the Sun, Derek Thieler and Kevin Porter and Michael Rowe, were all really nice and talkative with just us fans. and I kind of look at like some of those guys as like being on TV, like they're a little bit above me. I mean, Michael Rose on Arrow, he's Deadshot. And I've seen Kevin Porter and things, but they're really nice guys, man, just hanging out with us, like talking with us, And then as far as the footage goes, I mean, we got to see like a bit of each of the scenes. And the Exo Manowar stuff, it looks like a fight off of like The Flash. So like, if you like the like CW shows, like I think like for what they're trying to do with like Exo Manowar, as far as like him flying around, shooting lasers, shit like that, it looks pretty good. I mean, I like The Flash. I like, those shows on there. So for me, like the quality isn't a question, but it's characters I like interacting with one another. Ninjak says shit in the footage, so like it's not like very.
Oh my goodness gracious! Oh no,
he says a naughty word. So like, I was really shocked when I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, he just said.
Does he have an American accent the whole time?
Oh, you don't get a lot of dialogue, so I can't really remember. Then the other footage is the pretty much the scene that we get in the issue 3 of the comic between Archer and Armstrong and Ninjak, and the fighting is super fast between Archer and Ninjak. And the dude that plays Archer, I mean, he can whoop some ass, dude. He looks crazy good. His martial arts, at least in the footage. And then Kevin Porter looks pretty fast and big and pretty funny. Like he's pretty comical in the scenes, and they're calling out moves. I can't remember if they do that in the comic, but they have moves called like Punky Brewster and things like that. Mean something. It's hilarious. And that was really all we saw. Like we didn't see finishes to any of the fights. We basically just got like a minute or two. And then they did trivia again. And I answered a trivia question at that one. I made sure I was fucking fast as shit. I got this signed by the cast in attendance, which was awesome because I actually brought all my photo variants. And then because I was meeting Travis, I forgot them in my hotel room and never went back because we were just talking the whole time. And the only two things I didn't get signed was I had a stack of these photo variants, and then I had a bunch of like random Mark Waid books. Couldn't find Mark Waid anywhere. Found Travis. 2 minutes into talking to Travis, Mark Waid walked by, and I was like, shit. I'll just try to find him later. But then we ended up hanging out the whole time, so I never did find him. And then the last bit of news from the show, I played the Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe card game, and it was pretty fun. It was really fun.
Have you played the deck building game?
Fun. Huh?
Have you played the deck building game?
Oh, the Catalyst Labs game?
Right.
I've tried.
Yeah.
It's about really hard to get into. The Ninjak versus the Universe, the Valiant Universe card game is a lot faster. So like I learned about it and played it in like an hour. So basically, everybody who's playing plays against Ninjak. Ninjak is just like the deck, and the cards that come out are like Ninjak's attacks. And then you have like, your Live Wire, your Shadow Man, your Bloodshot, and you have abilities that coincide with his attacks. It was actually really fun, and I lost. Bloodshot won. Whoever was Bloodshot won.
Of course.
The best thing about playing that game, there was a dude there. He wasn't with the company. He was just like a fan who was playing card games and board games and whatnot. And his middle name was Pete, and his last name was Harbinger. Like his real name was Harbinger.
What?
Pete Harbinger. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, awesome. How do you get that name? Like, I wish I could meet like Ray Bloodshot. Like that would be like the only thing better, And then I went back Sunday for a couple minutes and walked around, didn't buy anything. And that was my trip to WonderCon. And my trip home was way better than my trip there. So
no crazy military people?
No. It was a really fast flight, and I came home and it was like snowing like crazy in Salt Lake. So that part wasn't fun. But WonderCon's awesome. I don't think I'm gonna go next year I usually go. People know this about me. Like I go on one trip a year, and I think next year I'm heading back to Emerald City. So
Seems like you've had a good time at that con every time you've gone.
yeah, and there's dudes there I know too. Hoosier and Moose. So it's like I'm ready to kick it again with those guys. And but yeah, man, WinterCon's awesome. Wish Valiant would have been there. And then I'm hoping like any day now there'll be a box from Valiant showing up here with some cool stuff in it. We'll see.
Yeah, that would be cool. Um, yeah, so I didn't do anything fun like that, so
Oh, that's
I
too
can't.
bad. Did you get anything cool in the mail?
No, no, I don't think so. Oh, wait, no, I did get something cool in the mail. You son of a bitch. Uh,
That's my segue.
yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. I think we should maybe talk a little bit more about this later. But
Okay.
I got that. Yeah, you got the Valiant one. Oh, see, I still got it in the box. I should open up the
No.
box.
I took this thing out, put batteries in it. Like,
Oh, yeah, I still haven't put batteries in mine. I should have got batteries today when I was out. Oh, that's cool as shit.
it's pretty bright with the lights on.
Yeah, I'm pulling it out of the box here. I'm pulling it out, y'all. I'm pulling it out.
That's what he said.
Yeah, he did. Oh my God, this is actually kind of tough. It's in there pretty tight.
It is?
Oh my God. I just might not be smarter than the packaging. That might be the problem.
Oh my God, isn't it so tight?
Cool. Yeah, I'll have to put batteries in it. So I want to say, where's the even? Oh, there's the button. I see the button. I found the button. Everybody calm down. I found the button. We're good.
He found it.
um, I want to say thank you to Henry at Outright Geekery. He got a hold of Inlights, and we're actually going to talk some more about these cool lights a little bit later. I don't want to get into that right now.
And a big thanks to
no,
Inlight for sending those because
yeah,
Henry had been kind of like our liaison on this, and I was like, yeah, it'll happen one day, sure, it'll happen. And
yeah,
then
they'll send
a
us
giant
free
box
stuff.
showed up at my house with 4 of these lights in it. So we'll talk about that a little bit later and how you might be able to get 1 or 2. So we'll just see.
We'll get into that. We could probably rock out these reviews. We do have 3 to do because, like I said, I forgot to read Ninja K5 before our last episode, before number 75. Number Ninja K5 is the end of the first arc, and I've been really interested in the dynamic between Ninjak and Ninja C. As anybody, oh, sorry, as anybody watching this, hopefully if you've seen Get Valiant previously, we are going to go into these books and talk about the books with spoilers. Yeah, of course you've got your copy. I don't know if anybody can see it,
my
though.
My copy showed up yesterday from DCBS.
Show it again while you're talking, because I don't think anybody could see that. You got to talk, dude. Silent. Nobody can see it. They're just looking at my face when you're showing that. That's all that's happening.
Oh.
Nobody can see it.
Ninja K5. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Oh my God.
Does it switch over if I'm doing anything on camera?
What?
Does it switch over if I'm doing something on camera? Because you're talking. It should.
No, it only shows the person talking. So no one, because I was talking and you didn't talk when you were showing that, so no one could see.
I see what you're saying. Here's Ninja K number 5.
Ninja K.
Ninja K. However you want to call it, man.
I want to call it what it is. No,
pre-order edition cover. Okay.
Yeah, those books have been pretty cool, the covers and stuff. But no, what I was saying is like I said, we are going to get into spoilers. Anyway, the dynamic between Ninjak and Ninja C has been really cool. And anybody reading this knows that Ninja C is the one who is one quick question before we get into this. Sean was asking of the promo card that he got in the mail. Is that something that already comes with the game, or was that exclusive? He was just curious if you knew more about
it's exclusive if you pre-ordered it. So what it is, one extra thing that you can get, and just for people who are listening, we're going back onto Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. What happens is that On the deck, you can your character page can get what's called an artifact card. So your artifact card might be like Armstrong's satchel or some other like items from the Valiant universe. If you pre-order the game, you have and you do it from the website. It's called like Overworked Games, I believe it is. And
Overworld Games, I think.
Overworld Games. I apologize for that. Overworld Games. If you pre-order through them, they will give you an additional card, and the additional card is the boon.
Oh, and, nice.
Yeah, the reason these artifact cards are important is because of how your character is structured with like strength and intelligence and things like that. You need those kind of things to defeat Ninjak's attacks. That card that you get from them specifically is something that really helps you like that. But
okay,
back to
so
Ninja.
Anyway, getting into the actual reviews, Ninja K number 5. This series, I've been saying for at least the last few issues that this is the best book at Valiant right now, and I know Nick, when he was on last week, since he was smart and actually read it before we started recording.
People do that here.
Yeah, it's a thing some people do. I don't know. He was saying that actually number 5 was the issue that convinced him that it was the best title at Valiant. And I've already been there for a while, but this issue definitely doesn't hurt that standing. It was a great issue. Oh, that's who Scorcher is. Scorcher, I didn't know who you are. You're Nick. Okay. Okay, cool. So I think he gave it a 4.75, and he can correct me if I'm wrong because he really loved it. And I'm going to agree that it is a great issue. I don't know if my score is going to be quite that high. We'll get there. But I have loved the art the entire time. The issue that Juan Jose Reap did was awesome, but getting back to Tomas Giarello is not something I'm going to complain about because he's an amazing artist. Gage has been killing it on the writing side of this book, and I think, like I said, the dynamic between Ninjak and Ninja C, kind of they were first fighting, then they started working together, and then they were at each other's throats again. I really think that was handled really well, and I think that was a great ending for the way that everything played out. I think that the fights and like Ninjak going up against that guy in that suit, I don't know, so much of it was just so awesome. And I really don't know. Yeah, I think that this is the best book at Valiant right now, hands down. And it sucks because there's a Bloodshot book going on. But as much as I do like that book, it does not live up to what this Ninjak book is doing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I did write a review for this, and I'm trying to remember what my score was on it. I gave it pretty high. I loved it. There was some great action in this, and I thought it was a good turn of events where, like, continuing on from issue 4, Ninjak and Ninja C, they're teaming up, they're invading, they're getting into their stuff, but then like, Ninjak can't cross a line that Ninja C is willing to do. So they're back at each other's throats. I love the way it ended. I love the bit where like Ninjak basically hit him with this plane.
Yeah, that was sweet. The Ninja took him out.
Yeah, it took him out the Ninja. I thought it was such a great move. And what's crazy about this book to me is like I read other books that Chris Gage writes. Like I've been reading ROM since IDW started doing it. So like, they've done a bunch of stuff. He co-writes it with Chris Royal, and it's a good book. I enjoy it enough that I keep buying it. But I don't feel the same way about it, even as like a lifelong ROM fan. I don't feel the same way I feel about these 5 issues of Ninja K. And Ninja K has just been something really spectacular. It's one of those books where I always thought like, oh, how good can it be with Chris Gage? He's an okay writer. But I've just been, the wrap up of this story arc has just left me thinking like, man, this is going to be like a great storyline that people are going to go back and read and be like, holy crap, like one of the better storylines easily in the Valiant universe right here. And I couldn't rank this and say it's like the best one, I don't think, because I really do like the Siege at King's Castle storyline, but this is just about as good as that. This is just a phenomenal storyline.
I don't know, man. I don't know that any of the arcs in Kin's Ninjak run are quite as good as this has been.
I know. But my whole point, I guess, on that is that was easily my favorite storyline in that old run, and I do think really fond of it. So like, I'm just trying to think like, would it be better than that? I don't know. I'm sure like if I was to read them, maybe read both of these storylines back to back, maybe I'd have a clear cut winner. But this story is awesome, and Tomas Giorello, he won't be there on the next storyline, but his art just shines here, and I mean, there's so much good stuff here. Holy crap! I don't remember why I scored this. I'd probably say that I scored it somewhere around like a 4.5. I don't remember having any objections to it. That's the problem with it. And I didn't know that we were going to talk about it on this podcast. Had I known, I might have gone back and looked at it.
Yeah, well, if you would listen to the last episode, huh? Oh, yeah.
I had some internet issues on my trip.
Our research team, aka Henry, has said that you gave it a 4.6. So you're right around where you were.
Thanks, Henry.
I'm actually going to come in right there with you at a 4.5. I mean, this is a nearly perfect book. I don't know that it gets much better than this. There are we got Cubs fans in here. That must be Hoosier.
Opening day, baby. Cubs win. Fly the W.
Sports. Psh, yeah. Nerds.
Sports are dumb.
Sports are for nerds.
Stuff's what's cool now.
Yeah, we're talking about comics like real men.
How things have changed in society a bit.
Yeah. No, I think that Gage has been knocking it out of the park. I don't remember who the artist is on the next arc, but
I think it's Reap, isn't it? Isn't Reap doing that first issue?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know who's coming in. I can't remember. I'm not going to complain if it's Reap, and even if it's somebody else, I imagine they're not going to put a slouch on this book. So I'm definitely on board for the next issue.
One last thing real quick. I didn't know if you were going to be wrapping up this review or not, but one thing I was really happy with on this is that they didn't kill off Ninja C, because I think that it's kind of an easy trapping to get into with a comic book like this, where it's like there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's stuff behind everybody's back. We're going to kill that guy to move on to like the stuff with like the Jonin. And I totally thought like if they can just keep Ninja C maybe alive, then I'd really be like happy about that, because I do feel like sometimes Valiant just will kill bad guys off just to like do it, like I don't know.
They do kill bad guys off pretty like the Armor Hunter is a perfect example that you go back to a lot, and that's a really good example.
Yeah. So a guy like this who is like every bit Ninjak's equal, and he's like got some decades on him, so he's way older but maybe a little bit more like seasoned and a lot more of a veteran. It's cool to have a guy like that who's around, who can either show up again to be like Ninjak's foe, or maybe they have something where they have an uneasy alliance. But I was really happy to see him survive it. Supposedly.
Yeah, I'd be stoked to see him come back with another, like you said, another uneasy alliance with Ninjak. I think it would be cool to see them work together again, because you know that it's just going to explode in their faces one way or another, and they're going to end up throwing fists again. So we actually got done with that. I'm glad that we were actually able to talk about that. It looks like Hoosier's confirming that it is Reap on the next Ninja K issue, so that'll be cool. Hoosier. But then moving on to the next book, I've got the A cover rocking here of EXO. And I didn't realize this was number 13. I got
the pre-order cover.
Pre-order cover. Mine doesn't come in until my DCBS order, so I won't have that for a little bit here. But
I ended up switching all the pre-order editions over to my local shop, so I'm gonna end up getting doubles of Bloodshot Salvation, but that's okay.
I'm sure you'll find a way to live with it.
I'll just start doing some decoupage. I don't know.
Nick just mentioned actually at the end of Ninja K5 when Livewire and Ninjak actually talk. That was an amazing scene. I do want to call out to that, because that was so well written.
Yeah, that was great too. And I think that there's a really cool thing. I mean, I don't know. They need to be like buds. They need to be more than that. I hate comic book relationships a lot, because I feel like a lot of times they don't really work. A case in point of that is, to me, Batman and Catwoman, which I don't like it in Tom King's Batman run. I don't think it works, and I hate how Catwoman can beat any female character all of a sudden. I feel like Ninjak and Livewire totally work.
Yeah, I think that they're a good match. Anyway, so getting into XO, Jason Falter, who's in our live chat, is talking about
Hi, Jason.
this one being pretty rushed. Um, and I think that I don't know, man. I struggle with thinking that this book is rushed at all because I think that on the one hand, I can see an argument being made that these issues have been rushed, but on the other hand, I also feel like this entire run, this whole year plus of books that have taken place on Gorin and around what's been going on with Arik on Gorin, I feel like I said, I can see the argument for saying that some of the story has been rushed, but I also think on the other side of that coin that a lot of it has really been stretched out and decompressed. And I think that a lot of the story could have happened quicker. Now, if I go back and reread it all, I might have a different opinion on it, but that's kind of where I'm sitting right now.
I can see it a little bit though, the argument for like it being rushed, because I feel like a lot of it is just kind of repetitive. I mean, like a lot of it felt like I read the issue before the previous issue, not right now where we're at, but like I think like in that second arc was kind of hard to read.
Yeah.
And this one, and what's crazy too about that is that those first two arcs seem to take place over so many days. Whereas, like, this fight with the bounty hunters and Arik, like 4 issues about it in like 1 day, maybe 2 days. I don't know. Doesn't seem like it's taking place in a very long time.
It's happened pretty quick.
Yeah. So
I've really been enjoying the art, Bodenheim on this book. I think that he's been awesome with Dollhouse coloring. It's looked really good. I think it's a little more cartoony than I would want for like a Ninjak book or a Bloodshot book. But I think it works really well with the high concept action that we get with Exo.
Yeah, I can totally agree with that. Like I've loved his interiors on this book. I think the covers that he's done for the pre-order editions on this part have been awesome. But this is what's hard about that too, is like the A covers on this have just been awesome. The A cover for this issue is rad. All the A covers that LaRosa has done on this book have been just so good. They look great.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. As far as the fight goes, we get the final battle between Exo Manowar in his armor against these bounty hunters of Gorum, and it was all right.
We also got an answer. We got 2 big answers, one bigger than the other. But one answer that we got, the main or the side answer that we got, there was a question in the last issue of how Art got his armor, and this issue answered that for us and showed us that, as you predicted, Josh, actually, the head, what was Basil, was able to come in and release the armor and let it get to Arik. Then was that weak? I don't think that was weak. What Travis is asking if we thought the Shanhara reveal was weak. If that was the reveal that you're talking about, then no, I wouldn't say that was weak. I thought that was decent.
Let's get to that part. We'll talk about that part next.
Okay, well, the other big reveal that we got was we finally learned why Arik left Earth, and that was exactly what it needed to be, right? Like, that was as powerful as it needed to be. I thought that we maybe could have gotten that information a little bit slower, and it might have had more emotional impact. But I think the way that it was woven into the tale of this issue worked really well. And I think that, like I said, I mean, that was exactly the kind of, it couldn't be he and Sana had a fight one day, so he just bailed, right? Like all the things of why he's been mad at the armor this whole time, why he's been avoiding it, and why it took so long for him to get in the armor. Now that all makes sense. And I think that that is what makes for a good explanation. So I'm happy that we got a good explanation with that reveal.
I don't know how I feel about the revelation. That revelation. What? Well, because here's my thing, man. These are like primitive people, I mean, like, there's just as much a case of like the armor causing leukemia as there is like Sana walking in front of a one-armed widow on a Friday. Okay, she doesn't know the difference either way. They're superstitious people. All right, I'm sure if we could have like killed a chicken a certain way, she probably would have thought everything was hunky dory. But like, to me, it just made me think that like Arik ran from his problem, like a problem that as a man he should have faced more. and not just been like, well, my wife's mad and our child died. I better just like fly off into the
Yeah, but
farthest
she
point.
told him to leave. It wasn't like he just decided to leave,
Well, he
right?
doesn't
And
have
like
to listen,
how
and he doesn't have to leave Earth.
okay, but
And
Here's the thing though, man. Like, not that I would ever wish this on anybody, but if one of your kids was to pass away and your wife thought it was your fault and told you to get the hell out of there, right? Like, I don't have any kids, but I imagine that would be pretty fucking powerful experience and really upsetting. And possibly upsetting enough for you to make some bad decisions. And
well,
that's what
maybe
Art did, was make some bad decisions. Um,
one thing I want to check with this, I don't remember it from the digital. Oh, and one thing I would say is I thought this issue looked way better on paper than it did, yeah, on the digital side. Like the paper looked, like the actual physical issue looked great. Um, this issue really made me kind of call into question, and this isn't negative. This isn't anything where it's like, oh, I'm going to critique the book bad about this. Um, Time is flowing at a weird pace to a point where I almost can't like figure out how long it's taken for certain events to have happened now, because it appears like the son that Arik has, he's got like decent like little kid hair, like he's probably like 2 or 3 or 4 years old, maybe. It looks like he's old enough to walk. You know, Sana is like sitting down holding him. He's probably like 3 feet tall. So like, how much time has passed since like I guess like Exo Manowar 50, where I don't even think Sana had even been pregnant, to now Arik having ran from this problem with Sana onto another planet and dealt with all these events that have occurred on this planet. Because I can imagine that like he didn't just become emperor yesterday, after landing. He didn't just show up one day and be like, well, now I'm going to be a slave and now I'm going to fight. So
but it
I
seemed like
feel
he
like,
met Sean pretty quickly, right? And then the
well,
war happened.
in issue one, it seems like they're established as a couple. He's farming with her, he's living with her.
Yeah, but he
So
just
it's
kind
like,
of moved in on the life that she already had established, right? Like it wouldn't take very long for that establishment to happen if they got together and he moved in with her. And
but I
then
guess,
you got to
but I
think
guess
too,
like what I'm
like,
saying is
okay,
that, go ahead.
okay. So we had not quite a year between the end of Venditti's run and the beginning of Kent's run, and now we're over a year into Kent's run. Um, So I think it's possible that the kid could have been somewhere 1, 2, maybe even a little bit older than 2 years old. Did he look a bit older than that? Yeah, probably, but I don't know. I'm personally not going to worry about the timelines all that much. Would it be nice if we had everything date stamped and knew exactly? Yeah, that could be cool. But still, on the other hand, like I just want to make sure that it's a decent story, and I think it's been a decent story. I do think it could have been better, and I am excited for Ark to get back to Earth. The thing I'm not happy about with Ark going back to Earth, though, is the fact that the first thing we get when he comes back to Earth is a flashback to his Visigoth days when he in that barbarian arc. I am not
Well,
looking forward to that.
well,
That
we get one more issue, which I
well, right,
think
we get
will.
the issue where he goes back to Earth, and then Harbinger Wars 2 starts, and the title goes into flashback mode. And I don't know. I wish it was more of a tie-in into Harbinger Wars 2, personally.
Yeah. So I guess my thing is for any like big brained Valiant fans that are out there, figure out the timeline of when things happen, because I imagine that like the one thing that does one fine difference between the Valiant heroes or in characters versus like Marvel and DC's, Batman probably doesn't get a night off in with the way his adventures go. Spider-Man probably doesn't get a day off or a night off either. And then a lot of times these heroes are just fighting so much, doing so much, spread out through so many books that they're probably like really busy, like fighting. And maybe the Valiant heroes aren't like that. Maybe like their lives are not like every day Arik is in the armor beating the shit out of something. Bloodshot's not shooting someone every day or dealing with like redneck relatives or Rising Spirit or Omen. But it was one of these books, and especially when we get into the next book, where I was just like, man, like time is just like crazy, like the amount of time that has passed. Because like I would imagine that like if this is just me, I would imagine that if I had to think about it, Arik's been away from Earth for like 3 years at least.
No.
dude, unless his kid grows like in like a week's time, which he hasn't, that kid's got to be at least a couple years old that
Right,
died.
but that was while he was still on Earth,
Yeah, while
right?
he's not, I guess no. What I mean is like he has to have been from the end of Venditti's run to right now in Kent's run has to be like 3 years. That's what I mean.
Okay, that makes sense. Yes.
And who knows how long it takes for him to, because I don't know where Gorin is, like what part of the universe or galaxy or Milky Way, that kind of stuff. So who fucking knows how far away it is? He could have been flying forever, man. Who knows? And one last thing about this before we go into scores is I had meant to look through Book of Death to see if the Fall of Exo Manowar run mentioned anything about Arik having a son that didn't make it, because that book is about his daughter in the armor.
Sure.
And I was like, oh man, was there maybe like a seed drop somewhere that we didn't pick up on or we didn't think about? Because I haven't heard anyone talk about anything really. I've tried to stay so far away from hearing anybody's opinion on this that it's been kind of hard. But I never got a chance to look at Book of Death. I hope that there's no mention of it, or maybe even a mention that like the daughter is like the first child that he had, just because like I'm just looking for a way where Book of Death doesn't
Just
and so
jettison it entirely.
So I can just point that finger in everybody's face who's just like a purist of like Book of Death being like canon. But not this time. You guys win this round.
So okay, I'm gonna kind of respond to some of the stuff in the live chat here. Jason is talking about when after he left Earth, he had to find that planet. Then he had to find the blue purple chick to shack up with and start farming and get over the wife that he didn't fight for. And I feel like it was less him getting over it and more him trying to pretend that he was over it, right? And if he was really over it, he wouldn't have been so angry with the armor the entire time. So I think that Sean was really just a rebound. Any Office fans in here, I would say Sean was essentially Karen, and now he's going back for the proverbial Pam. And now I don't know whether or not he and Asana will get back together, but I would say that Sean was just a rebound while he was hurting, and he needed a little bit of loving to get him through. And some farming, because that's how you grieve when you're a Visigoth.
That's what you do when you're mad. When you got to blow some steam, you go out and plow some fields in more ways than one.
Plow those wild oats. So I would say for me, this has been this is a decent issue. I really did like the art a lot. As far as the story goes, I'm going to go back to another thing that Jason had said earlier in the live chat, which is that the Venditti run was way better than what we've gotten from Kent's run with the character so far, and I cannot possibly agree with that more. Venditti's run with his character was a thing of beauty, and I feel like this arc has been good, but it's not been that good. And I'm going to actually. This is still a fairly high score, but I'm going to go with the 3.75 on this. Still positive. It's a good score. It's just not nearly as good as a lot of the stuff that we've gotten, like with Venditti's run and so on.
Yep. That's exactly the same score I was going to give this book. How crazy. Favorite thing about this was that, again, the bad guys lived.
Yeah.
I'm liking that. It's almost like we're building up villains in this universe that might come back.
Instead of killing them all immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because these guys were decent. Like they survived an encounter with Exo Manowar. Like they could hang with them. So if this book ever decides it's going to leave Earth again, because I doubt these guys are going to show up on Earth and try to do anything. Probably not. But I'm glad they lived. Glad they lived.
So we have one more book to review, and we have all been impatiently awaiting the return of Shadow Man. Oh, you got a cooler cover than I do.
Shadow Man 1. Yeah, but what's a bummer about this is so this is the pre-order edition, and it's just on that regular flimsy paper that everything else is going on. So it's not the same paper stock as the Exo Manowar pre-order edition. That's not that.
Yeah, I got the A cover here. And yeah, definitely nice not. I love this cover though. This is really fucking cool.
I did see the metal cover at WonderCon. It's rad.
Yeah, that I wish I had money to afford those.
Same here. I saw there was a deal, and I mean I'm not gonna buy these things because I'm just I don't collect a lot of newer Valiant variants, but somebody had every cover, including the metal one, for like $200 on eBay, and I was like, oh man, I'm really tempted because I don't own any metal covers, and Shadow Man, I do like the character, but not gonna do it.
The only metal cover I got was the Bloodshot Salvation one, which I don't know why I got it. And yes, Jason, the metal cover for Shadow Man is the glow in the dark one, so it's both metal and glow in the dark.
That is awesome. Awesome.
But this book, so my complaint, my wish, my desire for this book is just that we get Jack being anything other than a whiny little bitch. And I think he's moving in that direction. What do you think, Job?
I would agree. This issue I think did a couple fine things. So for one, like I thought Alyssa had a good enough amount of time to shine as being like a female hero who doesn't necessarily need help. She's trying to do as much as she can, and then
she's a total badass.
Yeah, she is totally written way cool in this run so far, one issue in. And then halfway through, Shadow Man pops up through that portal or whatever. One thing that's funny about this too, I have to say this, it kind of is a little bit off track. I had read a review that was on Outright Geekery, and someone had written down like who wrote the book, and it's Andy Diggle and Steven Segovia, and they had misspelled Ulysses Areola's name in the review, and it was like Ulysses Loa, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe one of the reviews at Outright Geekery misspelled his name. And then I was looking at the issue when I picked it up yesterday, and it's Ulysses Loa in the inside cover.
So, on the inside?
Well played, Valiant.
Well, I can confirm on the cover of the A cover here. I don't know if you can read it. It definitely says Areola.
Yeah. Yeah, and I never thought to look at that, but I was like, why did someone not know how to spell his name? Damn it. I think like what was kind of a cool twist too is that Shadow Man didn't just come in and save the day too. Like they couldn't defeat the thing in the water, and they just had to bail. Like he was too weak. It wasn't one of those things where he came in and like was like, "Hey, girl, I'm going to save you." He's like, "Shit, we got to bail. Like I'm not strong enough either." So, and then like I thought like the reemergence of Baron Samedi was great. He possesses Alyssa for a moment, and he kind of like warns of things to come. So and one great thing too about this was I feel like this issue did a perfect job of whether you're an old Shadow Man fan looking to get back into the book, or if you're one who's like, hey, what's been going on with this character again? I don't remember. I didn't really like half of it. They did a great explanation to kind of get you over the hump of where Jack has been for like the last couple of years. But again, I want to say that in the book they mentioned he's been gone for like 5 years. So like again, I'm just like, what the hell is going on with time, man? So,
but it's been since like 4+ years since his solo book, right?
Yeah, it's been about that time. I mean, like the Shadow Man 1 came out in 2012, 16 issues, and then End Times I think was still in like 2013, maybe not, but it's been a while. But I did think that this was a great first issue.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever read any Andy Diggle before, but I think that he really showed that he's got some writing chops. I loved the way that he handled Amanda. Wait, that's her name, right?
Alyssa.
Oh my God. I knew. I was like, wait a minute here. Something's wrong. Anyway, Alyssa. I love the way that he handled Alyssa. I love the way he handled Alyssa. I think Segovia is doing awesome on art. He was a really good choice. I was kind of curious how it would go. I liked the previews that I saw, and then reading the entire book, I think the art was great. I really like that we're jumping in and there's already like a lot of mystery. I read an interview that Diggle was saying that he's got a couple of years worth of story planned out. So he's dropping stuff in this first issue that we're not going to see come to fruition for quite a long while. And that makes me really happy. That's one of the things that I loved about Venditti's Exo run, and I really hope that we get the same thing here with this Shadow Man run. I think this is a really solid start. I probably could make a laundry list of things that I would like to see, but there's no way that you can get to every cool thing you could possibly do with the character right now in one issue. So I think that what was accomplished in this issue is, it's pushing the character in the direction I want him to go. It's giving him a supporting cast and a lot of conflict to overcome. And I think that that's awesome. It's setting up what could be an extremely good run.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, I stayed away from all the preview that Valiant was showing, because Valiant's preview was like 20 pages, man. Like, I think it was huge. So I feel like, I don't know, like, if they told Diggle, like, do what you can to get past, like, the bumps in the road that have happened from, like, end times and the end of the previous volume. But they did a great job. I mean, from here, we don't even have to worry about any of that stuff in the past. That it was just a bummer. And one thing about, like, Diggle having like 2 years of this book planned is, I wonder if the pre-orders on this book were just like through the roof, which would be a great thing, because I feel like Shadow Man is definitely one of the bigger characters, especially if you go back to like the 90s Valiant era. Like, Shadow Man is a major player in that universe. So maybe this is the way that they get him back to that kind of status, is this run. But 2 years of the book at least would be great. So yeah. I think for me, the way I'm going to score this book is I would actually go about a 4.5. I loved it. It was a great first issue. Valiant does first issues all right, all the time, and they're always great first issues. And I think saying all right is kind of a weak way to describe it. Like, they do them really good. So I think if this issue was a little bit clunky, I would be worried. Just because, even like going back to like Harbinger Renegade, like Harbinger Renegade had a great first issue. All the Valiant books have great first issues. It's just like, and even though I like all the books, sometimes going from there is not always like every issue great.
Yeah.
I'm liking Shadow Man.
How well it can maintain.
Yeah, and I'm hoping, I think there's a cover for issue 8 where you see like Shadow Man holding Master Dark. And it would be kind of fitting if at like Shadow Man issue 8 we get the return of Master Dark into the Valiant universe again too, because we haven't seen him since that Ninjak run.
Well, we saw Roku chop the tree down.
Yep. So it'd be cool to see him come back. And one thing too, I was thinking about with this, Diggle wrote Hellblazer back when it was a Vertigo book. And if this book becomes like a really good like horror book, it doesn't have to be as hard hitting as like, say, Hellblazer. But if we get a really dark book that's like the mystical horror element of the Valiant universe, that would be awesome. That's kind of what I would like to see as a fan. But whether we get it or not is a whole different story. But that's what I would like to see.
Yeah. Hoosier's floating the theory that Dark is going to die. And I don't think so. And I also wouldn't want that to happen. I like we talk about, we don't want villains to just die off and have to constantly be creating new villains. Now, I do want new villains on a regular basis, but I also want there to be big, major threats that have history with the characters.
Every character should have a threat that doesn't go away easy. And if they do, there's means to bring them back.
And I think that the way that Dark has been handled is perfect. I mean, locking him in a tree and then the tree getting chopped down makes sense. And then it's going to take him some time to go from being chopped out of that tree into having enough power to come back and be a threat again. So it makes sense that we're going to get some time. And Jack is hopefully going to learn as the series goes. I really, really want to see a really badass Shadow Man. And this issue didn't quite get us there. But I think that, considering where Diggle had to start, I'm hoping it won't take too long for us to get to that point where Jack's more in control. It seems like Alyssa is such a badass that she's going to be able to help him get to that point fairly quickly, and that's what I'm really hoping for. But at the same time, even if Jack is less badass than I want him to be in this series, as long as Alyssa stays as badass as she is, I'll be okay, because at least I still get that from the book. And then also, like I said, I mean, the stuff that Diggle's teasing, like learning about where the Loa came from and why this Loa was cast out, going back into the history of the Shadow Man. What was the Loa doing before it latched on to the Boniface family? A lot of these questions are going to be really fun to see where it goes and how they get answered. I know Jason is saying, he kind of was thinking it was hoping that it would be full on horror. Um, and I would like for it to be a full on horror book. I don't
Me
know if
too.
that's the intention. Um, I liked the balance that was here because it was still like a superhero-y action book with magic and stuff, and there were horror elements to it. So I think it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I know Diggle was talking about like going back to the first Shadow Man and it being like in the Wild West. So he gets to write like a magical horror themed Western. And I know like he was talking about being excited about that. So I think he's got some really cool, interesting ideas and some unexplored, unbroken ground to dig into, and that I think is the perfect thing for a new writer to do coming into this character, or really any established character, is to see how they can explore new ground that hasn't already been hashed and rehashed over and over again. Um, so for me, I'm gonna come in at a oh man, I'm gonna come in at a 4.25. This is a really strong book. The art is great. But I think that it's just not perfect, which is whatever. But I do have high hopes for this book moving forward. I'm really excited. Diggle seems to be doing a lot of research and homework when it comes to the voodoo aspect of things. So I'm excited to see what he does to play around with all that stuff. Um, I think that there's a lot to work with here, and yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and I too, like I was saying, I mean, a horror book would be great, but a superhero horror book, I'm okay with too. I know that a lot of the talk about like Diggle exploring like the previous incarnations of the Shadow Man, I think that's just really fascinating. Because the sales are there to do it. And if he can tell stories that are really compelling to read, they don't always have to have Jack in them. The book's called Shadow Man; it's not called Jack Boniface. So give me
That's
different
true.
versions of the Shadow Man. Like that stuff's interesting because then we build up that lore. We don't know anything about Shanhara prior to Arik wearing the armor, really.
Yeah, we do.
You know, a little bit, but not very much. We know that the Vine worshipped the armor, but we don't see like a whole bunch of people different like had worn it. We don't see like previous incarnations of Exo Manowar necessarily.
Kind of, but we do see how the armor was made.
Well, we see how it was like born, like out of its weird space tree or whatever it was, But I mean,
No, but we saw the girl that was Shinhara and became the armor.
kinda. But I mean, but my whole point being like we don't see a lot of the history of things prior to the current moment. Like our the Immortal Brothers are like the ones that we really get to see a lot of, like in their previous either lives or like previous decades when they're involved in like big events. So for me, like I'm all on board for like a really good Shadow Man book. I've got every issue that they've done, and if you want to show me some stuff that happened like in the 1700s or the 1400s or like 10,000 years ago, I'm on board because that's the stuff I like. That's the thing I think that I wish Valiant would do with Galad more is do Eternal Warrior, but show us like current stuff. And then, hey, back in the 90s, they used to do the stories where he was taking part in different moments in history and things like that. So I almost feel like they're taking the Galad approach with Shadow Man, and that's great.
Yeah, I'm down. People are talking in the live chat about Punk Mambo. I would love to see Punk Mambo having her own book. That's one of the things that's been mentioned. I think that would be cool, even just a mini. Um,
Yeah.
but it also would be really nice to see her show up here. And one thing that was mentioned was having Alyssa and Punk Mambo scrap at some point. And I could see that coming because it doesn't seem like Alyssa has a whole lot of respect for Punk Mambo. And I think that that's kind of an interesting approach. And I would love to see the two of them face off. I think that would be
I would
interesting.
love to see Alyssa become more than just like the supporting character, and I mean, and there's that chance for that, because one time Punk Mamba was just a character in Shadow Man, but what if Diggle is able to build up Alyssa into something bigger than she is right now? Like that would be great, and just seeing
Yeah,
like
I'm on
the
board.
character grow and become something better is like the goal, isn't it? Because then we don't have to just have like stories that center around Jack. We can have great stories that center around her too, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves too much on that.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
And Punk Mambo will be in the Coalition story within Ninja K6.
That's true. So she's popping up in other books, but I don't think it's unreasonable to think that she could come back and pop up here too.
Well, and
Um,
they make the comment in the book in Shadow Man 1, about like it wasn't like a very positive comment about her like out in the waters, the one Mambo that was out here, the punk lady or whatever. Like I can't remember what was said, but they do hint that they're being bad blood. I would just say.
yeah, and I think it would be cool to explore that. So moving on from the books, I think that was a great week. I do think that this was one of the stronger Exo Manowar issues. This Shadow Man is off to a great start. And then next week, actually, all we're getting from Valiant is the Eternity trade. So we'll have to see, probably drum up some other stuff to talk about that's not Valiant. We can probably talk about Eternity, really. I don't think I'm going to buy that trade, but we could probably talk about, the Divinity run and everything.
Yeah, maybe we could do something like that.
But
we'll get on the thing. We'll get back to the old drawing board, figure out what we're gonna do next week. Because we have. I mean, as we've been doing these live episodes, we did have a really good episode, I thought, where the community asked us questions. We engaged with people in the live chat. Maybe I can get my live chat end working for me in a week.
yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see, man. We did have a lot of fun when we answered the questions. We talked about Kill or Be Killed, I think, that last time. That there was no.
We could talk about Power Rangers next time. I was thinking about we could talk about that this time, but let's save that for next time.
It's always kind of neat when I find out that Eric is reading something that I'm reading.
Because I was actually not sure about it, but I did go ahead and read that first volume of Power Rangers. And I know Nick has actually really been digging Power Rangers. So, Nick, mark down on your calendar next week on Thursday. We should have you come on and we'll talk about Divinity, Eternity, and then we'll also get into some Power Ranger stuff. But speaking of next week, the big thing that we're going to do, coming back full circle to these mother truckers, right? You got that lit up?
Yep, I got my Valiant light lit up. Takes 3 AA batteries, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Hold on, I'm going to turn my light off real quick.
Uh-oh, we're getting fancy.
Yep, we are.
Uh-oh, I can't see. Oh, my God.
Yeah, this thing's pretty bright. Like, I don't know how it shows up on my phone.
It is pretty bright.
In my room, this thing is pretty bright.
It's awesome.
And it might look a little too much like a glowy circle on my end. But from how I see it, it looks great. I mean, like the plastic that's clear with the logo, it looks really awesome. I'm going to turn my light back on.
I am going to totally bring this to work and hang it up in my office. That is absolutely what's happening with my Bloodshot light. But we want you to know, dear listeners and / watchers, that next week, on next week's episode, we are going to take the extra lights that Inlights sent us, and what are we going to do, Josh?
We're going to give these lights away to 2 lucky viewers.
So you got an Exo Manowar and a Faith there, correct?
Yep, Exo Manowar and Faith. These things have a good battery life, too. I've had mine on a lot. And I will mail these out to the 2 winners. And, Inlights was beyond nice. I couldn't believe how many lights they sent us. I mean, because I thought, we'll just get a light. Maybe we just get 2. They ended up sending us 4. And obviously, Eric and I, we have to be kept happy somehow.
We got to get something out of this.
But we're not hogging, okay? We're going to give away the 2 cool lights too, So, watch next week because we want to do this with people who are watching.
Yeah, we're going to do it live. So if you are watching live next week, we'll choose people that are active with us in the live chat. I know that there are a couple people that watch, especially, specifically Chris from Calgary watches sometimes, and he's not in the Valiant, he doesn't have a YouTube account. So he's not able to chat in the live chat. So if anybody is watching this live next week and isn't able to communicate in the live chat, you guys can also comment on our post in our Get Valiant group on Facebook, and that'll be another way that you can also interact with us while we're live, because I'll keep my phone handy and this handy dandy motherfucker with Bloodshot on it.
Well,
I will.
we see the numbers of people who listen to the podcast, and I know that we have a really healthy amount of people that listen to it just that way. The podcast episodes drop the day after our live episode, so people who are listening to this, you have a week to come hop on a live episode and just get in the chat, either on Facebook, on YouTube. Maybe we do a winner on Facebook and a winner on YouTube,
Sure. Something just
and
depending
I'll
on
mail
how
it out.
people are interacting with us, and we'll
Yeah,
pick somebody who's going to get a free Exo Manowar light and someone who's going to get a free Faith light. And I mean, it doesn't get better than free, man.
yeah. Even if you've never ever been like watching us live, it doesn't matter. Come make it your first time. Come hang out. Come interact. Ask us a question. Fucking grill us. Tell us you hate us. I don't care.
Yeah,
Hop on.
something.
Maybe tell us how much you hate us and win a light. Okay. I've
Boom,
got a
we'll
shit
give
ton
you
of packing
something for
material,
telling us that we suck.
but just show up. I've got a lot of packing material. I sent one of these to Eric because they all came to me. I totally want to get these out to somebody. And then on top of that, the nice people at the game company that made Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. Can you remind me of their
Overworked.
name again? Overworked. They contacted me and they're like, "Hey, we're so glad that you like playing with us. We'd like to send a copy of the game to a winner, to someone off your podcast also." So in a couple weeks, we'll do that one after we get rid of these lights.
Yeah,
So stay tuned for more details on that one. We'll do that in a couple weeks. So we got some stuff going on. A way that we can reward you guys for supporting us and watching the episodes. We appreciate it, and we love to give stuff away. I love to ship stuff all over the country. So,
yeah,
and I'll even ship these things wherever I have to. So just to give back to you guys. I'm just saying, just come watch and we'll try and get some to you.
yeah. We try to do giveaways as often as we can. So the fact that we're able to give give away awesome stuff like these lights and a free card game, that's going to be really cool. I'm gonna have to try to find a way to win that card game when we do that in a couple weeks. No, but
Derek
we'll figure it
Baumgart is
out.
going to get it on the chat, and
Mysteriously. No,
your wife's not allowed to be in it.
no, so yeah, I'm happy. I think that this has been a fun episode. Like I said, cool books that we got to talk about. Sounds like we're gonna have a fun time next week giving stuff away, talking about Eternity, Divinity, talking about Power Rangers a little bit as well. Have a guest on with Nick. Yeah. In light box just popped up in the live chat. And
Hi,
that's
thanks for the
awesome.
lights.
I'm going to let them know. We were just thanking them. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm really happy that they're interacting with us. Like you said, Josh, it was really cool of them to send us 4 of these lights.
And there's videos on their Facebook page of how these lights work. So if you want some more information, you can head over to Inlights on Facebook. They've done a lot of different live videos showing off the lights. They're awesome. They're really awesome, and I'm hoping that if this line of lights, they're called the Rocks Box. If these are
Yes.
popular, maybe we get a second wave, with some other character logos. Maybe we get something like Britannia or
Such as
Shadow.
maybe this guy right here, eh?
Yeah, maybe not even be limited to just logos. Maybe get like some just cool designs like that Shadow Man face. That thing would be rad.
Yeah, that Shadow Man face on a light would be super cool. Yeah.
There's a lot.
No,
there's a-
I like I said, I'm gonna bring this motherfucker to work. This is going up on my wall, probably right next to my desk in my super sweet Batman versus Bloodshot commission my wife got for me.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna be awesome. I'll take pictures of it and post it up in our group and tag the Inlights people, so they can see that we really appreciate having lights that we can have and show off, and then also being able to spread the love to other fans of the comics, and hopefully we also have some people that dig the podcast as well. And Inlights is saying that viewers can actually vote on their website for the second series of Valiant Rocks boxes.
Oh,
So
that is awesome.
yeah,
That is
they're
awesome.
letting people get involved.
Yeah, that's great because that makes me feel like we can get some more lights and one thing, if you're like thinking like, wow, why would I even want one of these things? Like, what's the purpose? I've got a little spot in my room, in my comic book room, of just my Valiant stuff, and on that shelf right by my hardcovers is where I've been keeping that light. And for me, I like it, and it's just a cool little thing to have affect my comic book room.
I think a
So,
lot of us nerds like to have decorations.
oh yeah,
And if one of those decorations can also be functional, you can easily pitch that to your spouse.
yeah.
Hey,
You
not
know what?
only is
Like,
it cool and nerdy, it serves a purpose.
yeah, these lights mount to a wall. So
Yeah,
there's a lot of things you could do where you could mount the four below your original art or above your original art that sits on your wall. I mean, it's just a great thing to have.
yeah,
So
I totally agree. And yeah, I'm definitely stoked to be able to give these away next week. I'm stoked to see what the next run of these lights end up being. And we want to support Valiant, and we want to support the companies that are working with Valiant to bring us the stuff that we love. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing cooler than giving stuff away. Thanks again to the Inlights people. Thanks again to everybody for watching. I think we're probably going to call it good for the night. I'm going to sign off. I'm Eric Baumgard.
and I'm Josh Rathbun.
And I hope you all have a great week. Stay valiant, and we will see you next time and hopefully give you some stuff.
Yep, stay valiant.